and I was planning to run again, and then the congressional redistricting came. And this decision was precipitated by congressional redistricting, not entirely caused by it. I've been ambivalent about running, not because I don't continue to think the job is important, but because there are other things I'd like to do in my life before my career's over. I was a fledgling academic. I think I have the longest uncompleted PhD thesis in Harvard history haunting me, and there are a lot of things I would like to do. Some people are able to write and also pursue an active life. I am easily distracted by, I started writing the statement, the blank page, but I want to be au courant, the blank screen. I will take almost any excuse not to write. And I do want to write, and I want to write about some serious issues. And so I was torn. But then the new district came out, and there were two aspects of the new district that is that makes this the decision what I did. They both stem from the fact that the district is very substantially changed. There were 325 or 326,000 new people, many of whom I've never represented, some of whom I haven't represented for 20 years, which is an eternity in our politics today in terms of the issues. First, I decided to run again because I wanted to have maximum influence on two issues: protecting financial reform and making sure that military spending was part of the mix of deficit reduction. The need to campaign in a district that is almost half new conflicts with that. If I were to run again, I would be engaged full-fledged in a campaign, which is entirely appropriate. Nobody ought to expect to get elected without a contest. But the fact that it is so new makes it harder in terms of learning about new areas, introducing myself to new people. And I have three obligations. One is to continue to serve the people I currently serve. I'm wearing a New Bedford Whaling Museum tie. I've spent 20 years working on the fishing industry. None of the fishing industry areas will be in the district that I would be running in. I can't walk away from the fishing industry. I can't walk away from people I've grown personally close to and say, well, I'm sorry, I got to go worry about the Blackstone Valley. I don't have time to do you. I've worked a lot on relationships between two countries where my constituents have strong ties. Well, there are three. One of them stays the same. That's Israel. But the Azores, as part of Portugal, and Cape Verde, I've done a lot at the request of hundreds of thousands of my constituents now who live there. Most of them would be out of the new district. There are other issues that I've worked on that would either become politically irrelevant or of diminished relevance. I don't want to be torn between a full-fledged campaign in a district with 325,000 new people and my obligation to the existing constituents. And that's reinforced by the fact that I would have a hard time going to 325,000 new people, some of them in areas that I'm not very familiar with, like the Blackstone Valley, and say, oh, by the way, I would like to be your congressman for 2 years, because it was always clear that I would be retiring after the next term. I will be a couple of months short of my 75th birthday after the conclusion of the next Congress, and I have always said that I would not be serving elected office at that age. Some people can do it. I know my own capacities and energy level, and it would have been a mistake. So I would have had this very difficult situation in which I would be going to people in Attleboro, in Bellingham, in other areas, and saying, please, let me be your congressman and let me work on your problems, because that's an important part of this job that I've always taken very seriously. I'm very proud of the work I've done as an advocate for people's individual problems, local problems, and regional problems. But the most important ones are never resolved within a year or two. And to go into a new district, 325,000 people new, and ask them to trust me with being their advocate on their problems, and then say, oh, but by the way, that expires in 2 years. And if you call me in February of 2014, I'll have 11 months to work on your issue. And if you've got a regional problem, and I've worked on transportation issues, economic issues, environmental issues, none of those are done in 18 months or 2 years. So I would have a hard time, frankly, telling people that, and I would have a hard time justifying to myself to do it. That led me to decide that I should not run. I am, however, and this is the final factor, I'm not retiring from advocacy of public policy. And in some ways, to be honest, I think I will have more impact in some areas, not in office. It is not a secret that holding elected office is not these days considered to be one of the great virtues. There is a cynical screen through which comments of elected officials are put. I expect to be saying exactly the same things as a private citizen a year and a half from now or a year and a month from now that I've been saying as an elected official. But I think I will find my motives less impugned and I'll be able to talk more about the merits. That is, I think, candidly, there's an old saying that truth is the first casualty of war. Well, modesty is the first casualty of a political campaign. In some of our cases, it was on shaky legs to begin with. So I'm going to not have to be as immodest next year as you do ordinarily as a candidate. So I'll indulge a little immodesty now. I think I was pretty good at being a legislator. I think I have been pretty good at working inside that framework of government. But to my disappointment, the leverage you have within the government has substantially diminished. The anger in the country, the currents of opinion are such so that the kind of inside work I have felt best at is not going to be as productive for the foreseeable future, and not until we make some changes. And so I finally believe that my ability to be an advocate on the kinds of issues I most care about will be as great outside as inside. Now, if I had never served in Congress, I think that might not have been the case. But I look forward to being able to help change the system. I think there are now too many constraints against doing what I would like to do, and I expect to join the broader debate to change that. With that, I will open this up to any questions or comments. Yeah.